I have a question for you, John Adams. And I was called out by a mutual friend of ours, Bob Hodge, who is a frequent member of the Sports Source. And I said before the season that Nico would be better than Carson Beck. That's not proving to be the case. I'm still not as high on Carson Beck perhaps as you, but I will ask you this question. Not just this year, but who is more likely to win a Heisman Trophy, Nico or Carson Beck? So I have the benefit of a little bit more eligibility on my side, and I'm going to say that it is Nico.
Yeah, but I don't see Nico winning a Heisman. He might have a better shot. Well, no, I don't even think he has a better shot than Carson Beck, because if Carson Beck piles up a lot of yards in the last 5 games and other guys don't do as well that he's competing with, and Georgia's unbeaten and goes into the playoff, I think he would have a better shot. I just think Nico, next season, Tennessee won't be as good as this year. And the struggles they have at offensive tackle, offensive line problems could be magnified next season. And you probably will, I'm sure you won't have Dylan Thompson. I would think he would go pro. What? Dylan Thompson.
South Carolina. Did he play at South Carolina?
There's a Dylan Thompson somewhere in my background. Yeah.
John told me about 15 years ago, he said, names will start to rattle around in your head and you'll misuse them. And I was like, I'm not either. That won't happen. It happens daily.
Yeah, it's just no getting around. Usually, though, when you're writing, you catch it on the screen. Talk show, I mean, it comes and goes. It's gone. Forget about it. I wish Dylan Thompson all the best and hope he has a shot at the Heisman, too. I mean, I wonder, though, with Dylan Sampson, I mean, could they offer him enough NIL money to come back?
At that position, I do wonder that. Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, of course, he's got to look at it, too. Running back has only so many carries in him. But carries in college are easy in the NFL. I'm sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
No, it's okay, John. And look, I was with you with the Nico Iamaleava thing. I thought this year would be a splash year and it would be Johnny Manziel. I think the more I thought about it, though, going back through history, looking at first-year quarterbacks that were elite, they all had a lot more help than Nico had this year. I mean, you brought up Johnny Manziel. He had an Outland Trophy winner in Luke Jokel at one tackle position, and then he had an NFL Pro Bowler at tackle on the other position in Jake Matthews, and he had a Pro Bowl wide receiver to throw to in Mike Evans. I don't think Nico has any of those things. You know, with that in mind, my take, and I want to know your thoughts, I think Nico's more likely than Beck, because I think while first-year quarterbacks need help to be elite, I do think with experience, quarterbacks in college eventually, if they're good enough, can overcome lack of help. And just my example would be while Peyton Manning had a great offensive line in 94, I actually think Peyton Manning had a pretty bad offensive line in 97, his senior year at Tennessee. And he overcame that himself.
I didn't think it was bad, but I mean, there were other offensive lines. There were some pretty good players in that offensive line. But
I just remember that Florida game where he never had more than a second to throw the ball.
I know, but they were weak at right tackle. It wasn't like the whole line was bad. They had some good players in the offensive line, but that was also game management, play calling. I mean, give the right tackle some help. I guess that was the Alex. Was that the Alex Brown game, or was
that was 2 years later? That was
the 99. I get the 97 and 99 teams confused because I thought both of those teams, you could make a case, they had more talent than the 98 team. I mean, so I tend to run those two teams together. The thing about, to win a Heisman, you got to have the whole package. You got to have the talent yourself, individual talent, and you got to have a lot of help. And I think next year, even if Nico gets better, and I think he will get better, he's not going to have as much help as, say, Arch Manning will at Texas, or whoever Oregon's quarterback might be, or that nature.
Okay, but let me offer up this to both of you guys. At what point do you need to take the leap of faith that in Heupel we trust? Because we all thought that Dylan Sampson would need an awful lot of help from a Cam Selden or a Peyton Lewis. We all thought that Deshaun Bishop as a walk-on wouldn't be able to play at an SEC level. Same for Will Brooks at safety. At what point do you say that they're going to just restock and they don't have to rebuild just because they lose a Sampson, a Cooper Mays, and on and on and on? I really think they're close to that.
I'm not so sure about that because they needed help in the offensive line this year. Not a lot of help, but they needed some. They didn't get it. They misevaluated. I question their evaluating of players, particularly in the offensive line and recruitment and with transfers. So I no longer think, I think Heupel has a great system, but I don't know about him. I have questions about him overall now, even as an offensive coach, that maybe I didn't have before when they were scoring 40 points a game.
Yeah, so, John, would you rather, though, this is an honest question, as opposed to a dishonest question. I don't know why I said that. But
yeah, I hate honest questions. Caleb, could you give me something a little more devious, please?
Would you rather, what do you think's better for Tennessee, though? Nico gets better and reaches his potential, but his supporting cast gets worse? Or Nico stays stagnant, but the supporting cast gets much better?
I don't like either one of those scenarios.
See, I think given Heupel's system, if the quarterback gets really, really, really good, they can make up for a lot of deficiencies on the offense. And so I'd rather Nico get really good.
Okay, that's what, based on the evidence we had in the past, you could say that. Heupel's first two teams, we kind of got the sense that, well, his system is so good that they're just going to pile up points. I no longer think that.
Okay, but I do believe that Tennessee's talent base is rising. And yeah. I'm going to use this as an example. Jeremiah Thielander, they didn't have a guy to step in for Keenan Pili and play at an elite level. I'm not sure he's quite elite yet, but I thought he was very good in the time that he's played since Pili went out with an injury. That, to me, is a sign that roster building is going the right direction.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, Tennessee's getting better talent-wise. But when I look to next year, there's going to be obvious holes to fill. And based on what I've seen, I'm not so sure Tennessee will get the right guys to fill those holes. I see that the foundation, the talent foundation getting better with the recruiting classes. I see that. And so I think overall the roster will be good. But I still wonder about Tennessee getting just the right guys from the portal. I mean, that's a big part of this now. It's not just getting somebody, it's getting somebody that can really deliver for you. Well, a good example to me is Ohio State this year. Will Howard at quarterback. I don't think, I mean, people thought of Will Howard as a good quarterback at Kansas State, but there are questions. Can he handle what it takes to win a national title? Can he do that at Ohio State? I think he can. So maybe Ohio State could have got somebody better, but I think it did okay in that particular instance. And also the fact that it got Caleb Downs from Alabama as a safety, that seemed to be a good strategic move. It was able to get pretty elite players. Now, Tennessee has gotten some good players. Pili's a good player. He just hadn't stayed on the field. He's been hurt the whole time he's been here just about. So I still wonder about that process. Can Tennessee get the right players to fill holes looking ahead to next year? But I no longer assume that Josh Heupel's system will conquer all.
Fair enough. We'll take a look at some of those transfers. Two of the big names, and Pili and Brew McCoy, have been limited because of injuries. I think that's a factor. Listen, I don't think they hit a home run with Lance Hurd. I'll go ahead and tell you. At best, they
Really?
got a stand-up double at best. But yeah, I mean, you heard it here first.
He's horrible.
He was better. He was better on last Saturday than he was in the previous games. But yes, this is one of the biggest recruiting misses I think I've ever seen. He was a unanimous.
Well, now
5-star.
wait a second.
Yeah,
Can we all remember that he had an ankle sprain and that he was just coming back against Florida, and that he is still a redshirt freshman? I mean, come on.
He's not who we thought he's not who we thought he was.
And John knows this because he's from Louisiana. John, I've always said that 5-star Louisiana. No, I'm serious. Like, Louisiana kids are usually underrated in the recruiting services. Like, they're usually way more athletic than anybody even thought. Lance Hurd has not lived up to the standard of Louisiana high school football recruits that are 5 stars at all.
Yeah, right now, he's a horrible bust. However, well, he is. I mean, I don't see what you plug him. You're supposed to plug him at left tackle, and he protects Nico with every fiber of his body. He doesn't do the there. Go get him. There he is.
He just doesn't have a genius enough coach like Les Miles to scheme him properly, guys.
Well, I mean, he may get better. Go back to Darnell Wright. 5-star offensive tackle coming out of high school. He and who was the other one? Morris.
Wanye Morris, yeah.
Wanye Morris. Okay, 2 5-star tackles. And they both come in and start. Neither one's any good. Darnell Wright became a first-round draft pick, became an outstanding player. So just because this guy isn't that good now doesn't mean he can't get much better. And maybe next year he's the anchor of a questionable offensive line.
I want to thank our friends at Peak IV Hydration, South Knoxville and Sevierville. Live your life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration. You can go online, if we can drop that in the chat, and order their patch. You don't have to be there in person. That will help you with your hydration needs or energy needs. They're fantastic. You can order them online, peakivhydration.com.